Do you remember the last time you sat down and said, "That's it, this is the last time I'm going to study"? You sat down, planned, and got motivated. And then, after a short while, the enthusiasm faded. Why do you think that's it? Let's be honest, many students face this problem. After all that enthusiasm, they feel distracted and unable to study or enjoy studying, which ultimately leads to giving up. But when you ask for the solution, everyone says that the answer is focus. I used to think that too. Until I read a book by the famous author Neil Eyal and I discovered that the opposite of distraction is not focus as everyone believes. The opposite of distraction is attraction. What does this mean? Distraction is anything that takes you away from your goals, while attraction is anything that brings you closer to them. So today we will talk about the secrets that will turn you into a student addicted to studying. The secret is not a magic formula. It's just one simple habit, and if you apply it, you will feel a big difference in your study experience. So if you're ready, let's talk about the secret. So let's get started. We notice that many of us, when sit down to study, don't pass 10 to 15 minutes before feeling a great boredom. In these moments, most of us resort to either browsing social media, chatting on the phone with a close friend, or even some of us resort to consuming carbohydrate-rich sweets. But when we realize that we are procrastinating, we decide to go back to studying. Here comes the shock. We find ourselves unable to focus, and even if we manage to continue studying, we feel as if we are undergoing real pain, which drives us to stop. Surely you've asked yourself at some point why this happens. Personally, I've struggled a lot with this issue until I discovered the real reason, which goes back to dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter found in everyone's brain of us that gives us feeling of pleasure and happiness. How does it work? For example, when we start our day studying, our dopamine levels are balanced. But when we stop studying and start browsing social media, this level rises significantly. However, when you return to studying, the dopamine level decreases significantly, which makes us feel great pain due to this decline. This is undoubtedly because studying doesn't provide us the same level of pleasure we get from browsing through our phones, making everything seem stuck at this point. Surely you're asking yourself what the solution is. The solution is either to do a dopamine detox or to find ways to make studying provide us the same enjoyment that entertainment does. To begin dopamine detox, all you need to do is to avoid using your phone while studying, and most importantly, place it in a location far from you and turn off all notifications during study time. You can also set specific time periods for studying without any distractions, like using a timer to study for 25 minutes, followed by a short break, and during the break, you can spend it by meditating or walking in nature without any distractions, just you and your thoughts. However, as we know, this strategy might be difficult for some to implement. Therefore, the solution is to make studying give us the same level of enjoyment we get from browsing on our phones. For example, you can test yourself using QCM flashcards, which are a type of question that has multiple choice answers, and all you have to do is choose the correct answer. This will encourage the student to analyze the options and select the correct one, which in turn gives them a sense of achievement, enhancing their dopamine release and making studying more attractive, thus generating curiosity and the desire to learn, turning them into study addicts. For example, I remember when I started using this method, every time I chose the correct answer, you wouldn't believe the feeling it gave me. I felt so happy. I could spend hours studying without any boredom, And even when I chose the wrong answer, it motivated me more to understand my mistake. I try again and again until I found the solution. This transformed me from a distracted student to an addicted one. On another note, we can also transform the lesson into a story and make yourself the main character in it. This method generates enjoyment for us while also helping to reinforce the lesson in our memory. Because the human brain are naturally programmed to remember stories and experiences rather than just memorizing solid informations. This gives a student a sense of enjoyment that makes them addicted to studying. So if you follow these strategies, you will be able to transform studying from a chore into an enjoyment experience that will make you addicted to studying. Have you ever felt like you disconnected from your surroundings while studying and think into a world or fantasy and memorize? If you are experiencing this, you are not alone. What you're describing is called maladaptive daydreaming by scientists. In short, this happens when your mind becomes so skilled at imagining long movie-like scenes that it starts to take control of your focus. This is something individuals resort to in order to fulfill their desires or to escape things they couldn't achieve in reality. For example, I remember when I would sit down to study, just 5 minutes of focus would pass before I found myself drowning in a world of fantasy and memorize. I would ask myself, what would happen if I did this? And visualize the scene in front of me. If I achieved the required grade, would I be able to get the scholarship to enroll in this university? How would my life change? I imagine myself having achieved that goal. I spent many hours lost in these daydreams. Do you know why that happens to us? Because, as we all know, studying is boring compared to imagining a future version of yourself achieving great things. Therefore, the mind escapes there to feel pleasure, as daydreaming are a free source of dopamine that give us a feeling of enjoyment. You might be asking yourself how we can get rid of it. The secret doesn't lie in confronting it because, as we all know, anything we resist grows stronger. The solution lies in accepting it and learning to control it. Here, you can apply the 10 minutes rule. For example, if you're studying and feel a desire to distract, let's say an idea pops into your head and you want to think about it. Instead of studying, don't immediately suppress it. Instead, tell yourself, I will allow myself to think about this. But after 10 minutes, write it down on a piece of paper or in a notebook, which will help clear your mind and keep those 10 minutes to finish the task you were working on. After the 10 minutes are finished, take 2 minutes break and look at the notebook to read what you wrote. By seeing what you were preoccupied with, you will realize how silly that thought was and how it consumed all your attention and mind. Moreover, you will be able to identify the feelings that led you to drift, which will help you understand yourself better, thus enabling you to manage your emotions. In this way, you will be able to return to your studies while enjoying them and being fully focused. This will provide your brain with real dopamine away from daydreams, making you a student addicted to studying. Okay guys, if you liked my video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video and comment below this video. Thank you for watching.